This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you watch your A-game. A-man, no rain from the track when we unite and spit. This is an A-game, better bring your A-game. Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you watch your A-game. A-man, no rain from...
Hey now, it's the Mike and JD show, and I'm your host, Mike Gilbert, and I'm joined as always by JD, by God Oliva. How you doing, JD?
The prodigal sons have returned.
Yeah.
It's been a third of a year, man. We were talking about it before the show, and I don't know if I remember how to podcast. Let's see if we're still good at this thing or if we suck now.
Yeah, man. So I was worried about that because I was out of practice. So, it's funny. I called into a podcast on the Body Slam Network as a TNA show with a little friend of mine, Bert, and Io's been a big supporter of ours forever. Io Adebayo. And I called into their show and I rambled for like 20 minutes, like, okay, I can still do this. But last week I went live a few times, just like checking out the software and making sure we were good to go. But yeah, we are back, and I am coming to you from the great American Southeast in South Carolina, just south of the border of North Carolina, and no longer in Hawaii. This is the closest that we've been in a long time, man, as far as like time zones. Because for the longest time I was in California and you were in Illinois, and then I went to Hawaii and everything was fucked. And now, like, we're like an hour apart. This is actually pretty good.
Well, hour apart, time zone wise. Like,
yeah,
I'm still in Illinois. I will never be leaving the state of Illinois. But yeah, man, it's. I was thinking about this. You and I have. Hey, what's up? As the ex guy?
XWF. Yeah,
Jimmy Hart. That was Jimmy Hart's TNA attempt promotion in 2002, something like that. I forget. Anyways, it's been a while since we've been this close. Although you and I have never actually been in the same time zone at the same time, let alone in the same state or same room. Yeah. So someday we'll have to make that. We'll have to rectify that.
Dude, so, yeah. we actually on our trek across the country. So we flew from Hawaii to California, and then we went from Northern California down to Las Vegas, and then up to Yellowstone from there. And then we came down, went to Missouri, stayed for a little bit, and then from Missouri on our way into South Carolina, we actually crossed over into. We did a little bit of. We went to Kentucky, and then we got through like a corner of Illinois before we made it into Tennessee. Like there's like a tri-state like area right there. It's Illinois, Kentucky, and Tennessee. They'll kind of border each other. I can't remember the name of the river that's right there, but it's this huge river.
I think it's that part of. I think it's the Missouri at that part.
Missouri, right? Yeah, you're right. It's the Missouri River. So you go across this bridge, and while you're going across the bridge, you go like through 3 different states. And I was like, oh shit, I'm in Illinois. What's JD doing?
Well, JD lives 7 hours north of that part of the state of Illinois, so not there.
Yeah,
Illinois is a much bigger state than people realize. Like Illinois is super long. It's not like California, but I mean it's a pretty big state.
Yeah. South Carolina, like, so I'm at the top of that state. I can get to the very bottom of the state down to Charleston in like 3 hours.
That's a small state in comparison to the rest of the country. Man, you're living in Crockett country now.
I am. There's actually, so I just got it on my family calendar. Deadlock Pro Wrestling is out here, and they're coming to Charlotte, and that's Lucha Doncic's birthday. I think it's in October. And I will be there. I should probably tell Sam from the Power Bombshells because she's in Charlotte.
She is in Charlotte. I got to do their show. Well, I got to do their show while made us. I quite enjoy hanging out with Sam and Melody. They're good people. I was supposed to do a Jeremy Finestone for All Out, and I dorked on him because it was the first day of Fargo, and I couldn't. Like when I agreed on it, I'm like, yeah, man, no problem, I'm in. And then they announced the tournament, and I'm like, can't do it. I'm stuck. So. It's always good when you can screw over your friends and leave them hanging last minute. So, I'm a dick. Yeah. Nothing changes there.
Right. Well, real life always kind of gets in the way. So
constantly.
Yeah. But man, it has been a long time. I'm really glad to be back. I'm super excited. We got some folks in the chat. What's up, chat? We got Eli Samuel Rosario said, "What's up, guys? You were missed. Have a blessed night. I hope we do."
Thanks.
XWF, are you guys going to talk about the controversy that happened last week? XW, remind me what controversy is it? Raja?
Rampage's kid almost killed somebody. We can talk about that.
Yeah, so Raja Jackson. Yeah, I know. Raja Jackson is on the list of topics. So, and Lady B, what's up, Lady?
Hey.
The boys are back. Alert the presses. Yes, we are back. And then, of course, IO Productions in the house says, "What's up, fellas? What's up, IO?" It's good. It's good to be back. It's
build everything. Like we used to be pretty good at this, had good active chat. Now we have to it's like that like lame ass Drake song. Start from the bottom. That's whatever. It's kind of what we do.
Starting from the bottom. Now we're here. I think.
I teach high school kids, man. I hear this crap all the time. It goes one ear, not the other.
Yeah. So XWF asked us to talk about it. So let's just I was going to talk about like the last 3 months or the last 4 months. I was going to try to cram 4 months worth of news into 1 hour. But we can actually like, it is a big story. And I would like your take on it. I talked about it on Thursday night, but Roger Jackson, Rampage's son, Psycho. I know that's not a pun, by the way, because of who he attacked, Psycho Stu. But he was at a Knox Pro Wrestling show in Los Angeles, that's the WWEID independent company that is owned by Rikishi. I think Rikishi's named as the owner. I don't think he has anything to do with this company, but I like that's kind of what people have been saying, or maybe he's just trying to distance himself after what happened. But yeah, of course. But he was an invited guest by this guy who dresses up like a cowboy named I cannot remember the guy's AJ Mana. Yeah, the AJ Mana, this cowboy guy, brought Roger Jackson there, and Roger Jackson's whole life is on camera. He's like that fucking Jim Carrey movie, The Truman Show. Rampage Jackson, since he's left MMA and combat sports altogether, that's what he does. He's like a 24/7 streamer. He gets paid to like live on camera essentially, and so does his son. Yeah, it's super weird. Well, Roger shows up and he's got a camera crew and he's like meeting everybody backstage. It was a tent in a parking lot, but he's meeting everybody backstage and he goes up to Psycho Stu. Psycho Stu's a little different. He's kind of a wacky wrestling personality, an army vet. He's got PTSD, but he's just kind of like a wacky guy. And he's back there drinking beers. And Roger Jackson comes up to him to introduce himself, and Stu is in character because he sees the cameras because he's a wrestling carny.
Wrestler, yeah, carny.
He's a wrestler. So this is what's been explained to me, because before when I was talking about this, I didn't understand why I hit him in the head with a beer can, but that he just thought like they were working an angle, and he decided, oh, cameras here, I'm gonna be crazy. Wild and crazy Stu, right? Psycho Stu. So he hits him in the head with a beer can, thinking this guy's a pro wrestler, and then he goes, "Why aren't you selling it?" It's like, wait a minute. And they go, hey, Stu, he's not a worker. And Stu's like, you can see like the look on his face, like, oh shit, I just fucked with a real guy, right? And so he took a while, but they ended up making amends. But after they make amends, AJ Mana, dipshit, is like gassing up Raja. And then in the chat, like he's like live streaming and he's like looking at his comments, and they're all like talking shit to him, saying, you need to go get revenge on that guy. Don't be a bitch. This, and that. And like, so he's getting gassed up. Kid clearly has mental health issues, right? Clearly not a very secure person. And he's a trained MMA fighter by one of the greatest that ever did it in Rampage, one of my favorite fighters of all time.
Himself.
Yeah. So they say, hey, we're going to turn an angle. You get to attack him in the ring. Well, AJ Mana says, you need to go in there and get a receipt on this guy. And give him some, I can't remember if he said to hit him or what, but I think the rumor is that he was told to hit him hard. So I don't know if that was ever explicitly said, but that's what he thought. And then he's like on camera in the audience before he's about to go attack this guy. He goes, I'm going to just hit him as hard as I can, as many times as I can, until somebody pulls me off. And dude, he went in there and fucking bashed that dude's skull in. It looked like that scene out of Fight Club, right? Where Brad Pitt's like, I just want to destroy something beautiful, and he beats the shit out of Jared Leto, right? Is it Jared Leto? Was that, or was it Jared Leto? Okay.
I think so.
Okay. I think Jared Leto and Ryan Gosling might be like the Olsen twins a little bit. They're just interchangeable, but
I think Ryan Gosling would have been like 20 when that movie. I think Ryan Gosling was too young for that because that's pre-attack. I almost said Attack of the Titans. Remember the Titans, which is
right where he was a real liability at defensive back.
He was, yes.
Yeah, he was not a very good defensive back in that movie. Okay. Anyway, sidetracked. He went in there and beat the holy shit out of him. And not like I think he knocked him loopy he slammed him, knocked him loopy immediately, and then just proceeded to punch him directly in the face about 22, 23 times until Doug Malo, I think his name's Doug Malo, who is actually like a legit, like he's wrestling tough, right? He's not like a legit, like trained professional fighter, but in wrestling context, he can probably beat up most wrestlers, I think. And then that's kind of why he's around, right? And he went in there and actually pulled the guy off of him, and Raja hit him, and Malo headbutted him actually. And then the whole thing got broke up. And then that guy, that guy bailed. It was a whole thing. Psycho Stu, thank God, just got out of the hospital. I think Roger Jackson should go to prison, to be honest with you, because that was attempted murder in front of children. I think he should go away for a long time. So that's how I feel about it. JD, I set the stage. What are you thinking, man?
Man, I saw this, and when he goes up, right, Psycho Stu goes up, right, easily. He's like, oh, we're working here. And he gets drilled with essentially a sidewalk slam. And then he eats, like you said, 20 of the gnarliest punches to the face that I've ever seen. I thought he was dead. Like I thought Roger Jackson killed him. Like it was one of the ugliest displays of like real life nastiness in a wrestling ring ever. This whole situation is unfortunate. Like, I know how people are. Like, you gas up your boys, right? Oh, you're not gonna let them do that. Like, we're all guilty of that. We've all kind of poked the bear a little bit or thrown gas on the fire. I don't think anybody realized just how deranged, and I'll stay by that. Like, Roger Jackson is not a well person.
No,
right? Like, and if I was told go pull him off him, I'd be like, fuck, I'm gonna be terrified that guy. I would get killed. Right.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't consider myself a sissy by any stretch of the imagination, but that dude's a killer, and he comes from a long line of killers. Like Quentin Jackson was a bad dude himself. And this is what stuns me is the way this whole situation is played out. Like Rampage was quick to say, look, my kid was not a wrestler. He should not have been involved in all this. And then he kind of doubled down like, well, he's a killer and da-da-da. And like, it almost seemed like he was I don't know, like when you're a dad and your kid makes a big mistake, like there's like a rush to protect, which I understand that, right? Yeah. I understand why he wants, because I think he realized prison. Like I've heard they could this guy, they could press like attempted murder charges because he planned. Like you could do that. Like that's beyond attempted murder.
Yeah, you know, it's premeditated attempted murder is what it is.
Yeah. And it's you know, I get I'm not going to fault Rampage for saying anything because it's your kid. Like watching your kid do like almost kill somebody. I don't know what I would think if I saw Andy almost do that. Right. I got a 9-year-old. I can't imagine that. But I mean, like I gotta think he knows better, that he knows what his kid is capable of. And like,
Rampage had a line one time. He said, I'm putting aside a bunch of money because I got 2 sons I want to put to college, and I'm setting aside bail money for my other son, and the other son was Raja. Like he knew this guy was volatile, you know?
Yeah. And that's, well, here we are. Now what really grosses me out is Mark Henry is a guy who for years WWE never gave him a shot on the PR side of things, and he thought he could have been helpful to the company. So Tony Khan did in AEW, and that didn't quite work out. Henry has gone above and beyond, spread ill will of that company since then. He feels he was done wrong for getting a paycheck for 3 years to do absolutely nothing. I mean, I question anything that comes out of Mark Henry's mouth, you know, because he has a tendency to say some really stupid stuff. And I think, and Rob Van Dam and like a lot of these other guys have come out and like, wow, you know, like I don't want to hear a dumb wrestler talk with this, because this is beyond like anything Bill Watson, like, hey, you got to take care of them and da 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 da. It's just like this was beyond the pale. And I understand they want to rally to the defenses. And this, by the way, guess which program you're not going to see on WWE's ID program anymore? Like, it's a bad look for them. I understand. I think this is all a bunch of WWE guys that are protecting their friend with Rikishi, because ultimately, if he's depending on how he's going to take a blame for this because his name's involved in it. You know how that goes. If you're the famous guy,
he owns the company, and ultimately, like, this was a worked out skit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, that's ultimately like it's pro wrestling is, right? It's very entertaining and it's athletic and it's violent, but like it's a skit.
Yes.
And they worked this out with this kid ahead of time. And
Yes.
Rikishi wasn't there. But he's ultimately like, I think this company probably goes under. I don't think this is going to be a company much longer. And the worst part of it is it's a fucking wrestling school. It's not just like it's a wrestling school they're running, and they had like kids that were training in their wrestling school, and they witnessed this stuff. And this happened on their watch, and a lot of heads got a roll. Most importantly, Raja. I mean, Raja was the one that was in the most control of the situation, right? Like he didn't have to do what he did, but a lot of people are at fault here for sure.
Oh, top to bottom. Like I'm sure that Psycho Stu, if he had it to do throwing the beer can wrestler, every single one of them would have been worse. This is what pisses me off. Is I heard Mark Henry say, you gotta watch who you do things with. It's like, dude, you're a pro wrestler. If you're on camera, you're told to be in character. Like every single one of you guys would have done the same thing. And the fact that they rallied to the defense of a guy who took liberties with somebody and not one of sickening, which just again, it just here's JD, he's back. It just goes to show what kind of mentality and people come from that organization. Like, well, here's
the thing. Psycho Stu hits him in the head with a beer can. So JD, I'm gonna set the stage for you. Roger Jackson introduces himself to Psycho Stu. Psycho Stu hits him in the head with a beer can. Roger Jackson knocks him the fuck out. Are you and I over here like cussing Roger Jackson, calling him a psycho? We'd say
no. We're saying Psycho Stu's an idiot for doing that. Right, 100%.
Like, you had that fucking coming. No, what happened was he sat on that and waited until this guy was defenseless, and then went and tried to murder the motherfucker. That was not a fair fight, right? Like Stu went up for that slam. Like he knew the slam was coming. They worked that out. And the guy then proceeded to knock the shit out of him till he was almost dead. There's no
and that's
excuse,
what bugs me,
right?
And that's what bugs me.
So there's no defense.
No, that's what bugs me. Is these guys are wrestlers, and I feel like if this was any other scenario, they'd be upset with the guy who is not from their world, who came into their world and took cheap shots, and yet they're not. It's just I don't understand the mentality of why these professional wrestlers are doing this. I don't want to like.
I think again. You know what?
Continue.
I don't think they're protecting WWE because I think WWE's hands are basically clean of it. I think Mark and Rob Van Dam are friends with Rampage Jackson, and they like Rampage. I think that's what it is. They probably don't even know who Psycho Stu is.
No, they definitely don't know who Psycho Stu is. But the fact that if this was some random MMA guy who did it, like they would not have those attitudes. Like I understand, like Quentin had a cup of coffee in TNA, and I understand that. But Mark Henry continues to prove time and again why he's not a good representative for a company because he says stupid shit and constantly.
Yeah,
now that he gets open and gets to do that professionally. Yeah,
I'm so disappointed in Mark Henry. Like he seemed like one of the genuine good guys, and then like a lot of the old timers, like they once they get out of the limelight and they start podcasting and tweeting, it's like, okay, now you're fucking total disappointment.
Yeah, we got to get a rhythm.
RVD2, by the way.
Yeah, RVD2.
Yeah.
Mark Henry just he's a bigger platform to do it, and he was the first one to do it and come out and defend it, which is the more disappointing. I don't blame WWE. I do think they're going to get sued though. Like if I'm Psycho Stu, I'm lawyered the fuck up because I got a lot of things I got to pay for.
Yeah, you try to get as much as you can from whoever you can. I don't know that it'll work, but just go for it anyway. And I'm sure some lawyer will take it.
I bet TKO writes him a check.
Yeah,
it's a real bad look. It's a real bad look for them. Like the WWE ID. I was listening to Joe and Rich, our what are we referring on as? Like I guess our bosses for the Voice Network, and they had some interesting thoughts on this whole thing, especially with how much of a failure the WWE ID program has been. Guys are getting released. They're not getting booked. They're not selling shows with a Game Changer. It was like, yeah, we'll be the host of the WWE ID thing. It hasn't made a damn bit of difference for their business. It's been a disaster overall, which shocking. I mean,
Yeah.
shocking that happened. This whole thing is, and then you have this, and like, here's the funny part is like, the WWE is always like, well, you know, they don't train right in those places. We want our schools, like they wanted their certified schools because we don't
Yeah.
trust other places. Meanwhile, Rikishi's school, a lot of guys almost get murdered in there. Like, where do you come off with anything? Like, you're who are you? You're validating your buddies, and that's a good old boy network, and it's. I think this whole thing is a bad look on WWE.
Well, so take away the Roger Jackson situation. What was the beginning of the setting of that? A bunch of wrestlers at a wrestling school, the vets, are in the parking lot drinking beers before the show, and then they're about to go and put their lives on the line in the ring, right? And talk about wrestler safety and all that stuff, and taking care of each other, and they're doing it inebriated, right? Like that just shows you what kind of level these people are at.
Here, and this is like, believe me, it's not the first time I'm sure that's happened, but that's super classless. And that's some like old school ECW shit. Like, as a guy who spent his life coming up playing sports, the idea of like getting fucked up before you would go do it is like, you're not serious. Like, even at my age, like wrestling in the US Open last year, like there weren't guys out drinking beer and shit like that beforehand. Like, it's not like that. And to hear that people are still doing that at this stage of life and what we know, like, the thought of allowing somebody control of my body who has altered their brain chemistry in any way, shape, or form is horrifying to me.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
hey, JD, I know, JD, you were never really a drinker, but could you imagine drinking a beer and then trying to work out? Like, like you'd be exhausted after a couple of reps. Like, but
dude,
like wrestling is a great workout. Like if you're like in a wrestling match, your heart rate's getting up quite a bit, right? And so it would fuck you up.
Dude, so like, here's the thing. Like I said, I've never wrestled the professional wrestling match in my life. I've never been in the ring, but I've spent my life on a wrestling mat. This morning, I took my kid to Jiu-Jitsu Open. Matt Jiu-Jitsu a little bit lately, and I've been going with and just rolling around some of the other guys. I've done maybe 4 Jiu-Jitsu practices in my life. I'm a wrestler. I get out of my comfort zone. I enjoy it. It's fun. The thought, and I got tired rolling around today. The thought of drinking or doing anything like that and then going or whatever, to me, it's so beyond Bush. Fuck, really does.
Yeah. XWF, I hope we covered your topic well. I know that's what you were here for, so thank you for submitting the topic.
Thanks.
But man, we have 4 months to get through. So we took off in April. I just want to cover. We'll do some rapid fire topics. We could spend a few minutes on each if you want. But some of the big stories. I just find this fascinating. So before we went on sabbatical, John Cena had turned heel, and I came on this show. And I was like, it was the second greatest heel turn I've ever seen in my life. I did a top 10. I wrote an article about it. I did a couple of extra podcasts about how much I loved it. And they proceeded to shit the bed with that damn heel turn. It turned out to be probably the worst heel turn since Stone Cold Steve Austin turned. Actually, I would say it's worse than Steve Austin because Steve Austin's actually lasted about like 9 months or so. But it turned out to be the worst. And then all of a sudden, they just ended it. And then he just became a babyface on one episode of SmackDown. And now he's doing great, by the way. Like he's back to being babyface John Cena, and everybody loves him again. But what are your thoughts on the probably the worst heel turn of all time?
He never committed to it.
No,
it never made sense. He never committed to it. The whole thing was very much. My favorite thing right now is the WWE fans who are like playing Rock and Triple Paul against each other. Like I enjoy these whole things. I enjoy people. I enjoy watching the WWE fans figure out that Levesque's not the greatest booker in the world. These things are entertaining me, and this is proof of it. Like they had zero plan for this Cena heel turn. Zero plan. If they were going to do it, they should have done it after he won the title, not going into it, right? And then Cena wasn't. It's very obvious that Cena wasn't bought into it. Right? He did nothing. His whole thing is, well, I'm going to do nothing different. I'm just going to be John Cena. It's just like, the late Hulk Hogan. Here we go. committed, did not commit to the NWO and still did the red and yellow and still was doing the, well, dude, brother, but just, and wasn't all in on the NWO and doing Hollywood. It wouldn't have worked.
Right.
The NWO angle would not have been successful with John Cena. It was very obvious he wasn't into it and didn't want to do it. So he it felt like pouty to me that he kind of tanked it. Like it felt like he was pouting, and it kind of disappointed a little bit in John Cena. To be honest
and I think he did it with the expectation that The Rock would be a part of it too, and then The Rock just never came back. The Rock said, "Fuck this, I'm out." It's like, let's Travis Scott storyline around me, and I'm just not going to be a part of it.
And the whole thing with Travis Scott too, he had nothing to do with anything. Yeah. Like the whole thing was weird. It's just they're just such. I don't want to hear about the amazing planning of Triple H's cooking. Like they could have like when you're given something, you pivot, you make something work, you be creative, and they stirred into it. And the fact that Cody's got, I've read someone's like, oh, Cody should never. Like, who else would you give it to at this point? Like, but it's disappointing. It's really disappointing. I thought this good. But it's not.
Yeah. So that heel turn kind of like made me interested in WWE again. I was like, okay, something's interesting, right? Like I'll watch it from time to time, but nothing really ever hooks me as far as being something interesting. And I thought that they had something with that. But they really shit the bed. You brought up Hulk Hogan, man. Since we've been gone, Hulk Hogan died. Probably the most mainstream, like as far as just strictly pro wrestling, right? Like the biggest mainstream pro wrestler of all time. I think people would probably say The Rock. I know a lot of people are going to say Antonio Inoki, but we'll probably say Our Country, right? But Hulk Hogan was, the impetus for the wrestling boom in the 80s, the WWF boom in the 80s. And he's a big reason why a lot of us became fans. I know he is a big reason why I became a fan. Like I was introduced to pro wrestling because Hulk Hogan, and they were on prime time on NBC and things like that. And so I was like 4 years old the first time I saw Hulk Hogan. So, and I was pretty much hooked on wrestling ever since. The Voices of Wrestling, Joe and Rich did a great eulogy. I'm currently listening to The Lapsed Fan do the entire history of Hulk Hogan and the Balea family. They're actually going back to the old country in Italy to his great grandparents and how they came over to America. Like the first episode is like 5 hours long. I'm almost through with it, but it's those guys are awesome. So they're maniacs with it. But he died while I was in New York City, and I was like sitting at I think I was sitting at lunch, or I might have been in one of my orientation classes, and he died. And I looked and I was like, oh shit. And I had already agreed to go to Madison Square Garden that night. I just wanted to go walk down to the garden because I was in Manhattan at the Hilton in Midtown. And so I was like, well, shit, I bet they're going to have a memorial for Hulk. So I was like, now I'm definitely going. So I ended up walking down there. Sure enough, they had a big memorial. I take a picture of the memorial for Hulk Hogan from both sides from two different sides of Madison Square Garden where they had it. I posted it on Twitter, and that picture then gets proceeded to be stolen by every major publication. Brian Blair stole it.
No shit.
From the Cauliflower Alley Club Facebook. I was like, I commented on it. I was like, guys, that's my picture. It's like you can have the picture, but I did walk 30 minutes to go get it. Like you could at least like say thank you. But it became a big deal. But Hulk Hogan was a big part of my childhood. I know later in life, turns out, piece of shit. I get it. But like the television character was a big part of my fandom growing up. And, part of my childhood died when Hulk Hogan died. So there you go. Rest in peace, Hulk.
So I was never a huge Hulk Hogan fan because when I got into wrestling was in that time when he was kind of phasing himself out. But I did my introduction to wrestling was actually through Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling. Yeah. Like I'm a little bit older than you. So like I was probably about 5, and it was on after Muppet Babies, which was my favorite cartoon show as a kid. Nice. So like, yeah, I vividly remember watching Muppet Babies in the first episode of Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling. So I watched all those because it was just on, and that's kind of where I got to know who Roddy Piper and the Junkyard Dog and Andre the Giant. Like those characters were very central to me, even though I really didn't watch wrestling till I did a little bit. Like I'd come in and out, but I wasn't like a fan until I was older in the early 90s. But you couldn't get away from Hulk Hogan. And like, so I never loved, I didn't have the big beef that some of the smart fans had with him. I just always kind of accepted that Hogan was on the shows and you just kind of dealt with him. I didn't have beef with Hogan until he kind of ruined WCW in 94, 95. Then I was like anti-Hogan. I don't know, man. Life has become more complicated with him because all of a sudden I am like 1 degree of separation from Hulk Hogan. Like I know a lot of the people that are involved in this Real American Wrestling thing.
That's right. We did get a request for you to talk about that. Brad's in the chat, so he wants to hear about it. But yeah, we'll talk about that next. But
yeah, so it's like I mention it like I'm because I know people that are like that were actually friends with him at the end of his life, and it didn't feel right to me to go, yeah, well, the guy was this, and this, and it's all true. Right. But I mean, like at the same time, it just felt like dirty to take shots at him at that point. And not saying they even weren't deserved, but I mean, like it just made it more complicated. It's made covering Real American Wrestling or Freestyle really more complicated with me too, because like it's just all of a sudden I find that I don't know, man, this part of life and doing this podcast is actually like you and I aren't in on anything, but we run into an interesting Venn diagram where oftentimes, like you just talked about your picture getting hijacked by B. Brian Blair, and like it's just weird how like you find yourself like closer to this than you feel like. And I don't know what to think about Hulk Hogan's actual passing. Like, you know, I wasn't terribly surprised by it because he looked rough those last the last year or so.
Well, and Bubba the Love Sponge had been saying for weeks.
Yeah,
I had quit listening to Bubba like years ago. But I used to listen to Bubba because Hulk would call in all the time on the Sirius XM. Well, I still have a lifetime subscription. I paid $400 in 2007. I don't think they thought I would stick around this long, but I still have my active subscription.
And that is fucking impressive. I have to tip my cap to you, sir.
I just transferred it to my new truck. They're like, "You're still here." So, but he came on after Stern back in the day, and so I would listen to Bubba like almost every day on my lunch break, and Hulk would call in, and I liked that show because it was like all the wrestlers would call into that show, especially like Hulk. They would actually get annoyed by Hulk because of how often he was calling in. Like he would call in and disrupt the show, and he would just be spewing nonsense. He would call in from the toilet sometimes and just say a bunch of dumb shit because he was at that time, 2007, 2008, which I think is what the time frame where a lot of this occurred. He was horribly alcoholic and addicted to painkillers and was going through a lot. I'm not giving the guy excuses, by the way. That's not what I'm doing. But I do think that maybe it explains like just the type of state of mind that the guy was in. He was angry and he was having issues with his daughter. He's going through a divorce, all the back surgeries. So that's kind of what it explained to me.
His kid was in prison. Like, yeah.
His kid was in prison for doing some stupid shit. And like any dad, he went out there and like protected his kid. And I know a lot of people don't like him for that. But he said some horribly racist shit, man. And there's no excuse for it. And other than I think he put out like a publicist statement. He never really apologized.
That's the problem.
And he had the opportunity to. And I honestly, he got really bad advice from people in his camp that told him that if he apologized, it'd make it worse, because it would not make it worse, because people wanted to forgive him. I'm one of those people. And you know what? I ultimately ended up forgiving him, because then he would come back on TV and I was like, I still kind of like seeing him. Like, it just take me back to a place in my childhood that made me feel good. So it was still like what he didn't ruin like everything for me. I still liked seeing him around when he came out. And I don't like when a guy is like crippled and it's 70 and can barely walk. I don't want to say, hey, like 15 years ago you said something horribly racist. I'm just not that type of guy. So I get the feeling that people in his life really liked him, probably because he treated them well. Like people are nuanced and complicated, and he did say those things, but he also probably did a lot of good things too. So it's like, however you want to remember him, it should be the way you want to remember him. But I just remember a Hulk of the 80s NWO Hulk, and then his brief return. I don't think I want to remember TNA Hulk, because I did have a lot of bad taste in my mouth from TNA Hulk. But yeah, so that, I kind of let go of that stuff after a while.
I don't I was never personally wounded by the man, right?
Yeah.
I don't think he was a good quality person, personal opinion. But I'm colored by years of reading Dave Meltzer. I'll be the first to admit that. I'm colored by years of watching what I watched. So as a professional, wasn't a fan of the man. Didn't know him personally, but like you said, like he had people in his life. I relate to this. When I was in college, I remember like it was within a day or two apart. Lane Staley died of an overdose. I'm a huge Alice in Chains. If you look at Facebook friends with me, I post music all the time. Like the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is I post a song because I just freaking love music. And I love Alice in Chains. I could listen to Nutshell. Like that's my go-to when I'm like down. I'm gonna put Nutshell on and listen to it. And
I don't know that that's helpful, by the way.
No, it's not at all. It's not at all. Like it just feeds it. It's Nutshell and it's black, and I just feel worse about life. It's just gonna feel bad. He died the same day or the day after, I forget which, when the singer Aaliyah had her plane crash and passed away. I remember being in college and seeing all this coverage for Aaliyah, and it was tragic and horrible that she died in this plane crash. And with Lane Staley, I remember I mentioned that, I'm like, man, she's getting all this coverage and like nobody cares about Lane. That's how it felt to me at 21 or something like that. And someone goes, yeah, but he was just a junkie.
Right.
And it just broke my heart to hear that. I'm like, yeah, the guy had problems, but I mean, like, look at the art that he contributed, and he wasn't a bad person. Like, so I try to remember the way I felt about that. The way I didn't feel like personally wounded or personally slighted that, you know, Aaliyah got more coverage and love than Lane Staley did. But I just like, it was that reaction was, yeah, but, and I'm like, man, that's someone's life and someone's struggle. And so I try to keep that stuff in mind when anybody passes away, because like, I don't necessarily think Hulk Hogan was a great person, but like I said, I know enough people now that are in his orbit that were devastated when that happened. So the fact, I mean, who am I to tell somebody they can't grieve someone's loss? You know, he did say some awful stuff. And the fact that he never apologized for it when people wanted to, you're right, people wanted to forgive him.
I was one of those people. I was on Busted Open Radio the day that that controversy came out. I called in and I was like, I wasn't having it, but they asked the question. They said, does Hulk Hogan deserve forgiveness? And I called in and I told Dave LaGreca, I was like, it's not about whether you deserve forgiveness. You just get it, right? Like it's called grace, right? But you gotta be willing to go a little bit, right? If you got to be willing to ask for it. And he just was never willing to do it. You know what I mean? And so I was like, but this was before he had an opportunity to apologize. Like the story had just broke. When I said that, I assumed he was going to do the Dog the Bounty Hunter apology tour and bring out like one of his black friends and go on Larry King and do the whole thing like Dog did. Dog rebounded just fine. A similar situation, right? Dog rebounded just fine. In fact, like he might even be like a senator by now, all I know. But you know, Hulk Hogan
dead, isn't he? Isn't Dog the Bounty Hunter dead?
Oh, hold on. Now I'm getting sidetracked. I don't think Dog's dead. I'm pretty sure he was just hunting down. He was just hunting down criminals recently and doing it on like Fox News. Yeah.
I thought Dog the Bounty Hunter died.
No. Anytime there's like a fugitive, Dog finds himself on a TV show and is like still hunting them down. It's the whole thing.
Sorry, Dog. Dog. I thought you were dead. I killed you in my head. I didn't mean that.
So Lady B brings up a point. And now I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to minimize using racial slurs when I say this, but Lady B says the story about what he did with Brooke Hogan's recording contract is wild. In my book, that is far worse than what he said on that sex tape.
I agree with that.
Yeah. And so for those of you that don't know, like Hulk was trying to get Brooke out of her deal because he was trying to squeeze more money out of the record label for a boxing thing, for some other thing that he was trying to do. And so he wrote a letter to Brooke on Christmas, gave her a card and a present, basically pretending to be the record promoter and firing her from that. And Bubba the Love Sponge helped him do it. And Bubba admitted to that to Brooke on the air. If you guys have not heard that 1 hour interview that Bubba did with Brooke, where Brooke just randomly called in because that's like her uncle, that was emotional. It was wild. It was crazy. All right, hold on. JD out here rushing deaths. You guys remember whenever I said who was it I said was dead?
We've done this before. Like this has happened to us before.
I said Richard Lewis was dead. I said Richard
Yes.
Lewis was dead, but it was actually Richard Belzer. I got the Richards mixed up, but
and now they're both dead.
but then he ended up dying later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Stephen Patrick, Dog's wife died. Yeah, Dog's wife, but Dog is still very much alive with the mullet.
Well, and that's the thing, though. It's like I think the thing with grace, like you're talking about forgiveness, is one has to. And I'm not an overly Christian person. I'm not. That's not me. So I'm not going to like claim to that. I think that people have to ask for grace and people have to ask for forgiveness. And I think the problem with Hulk Hogan is I don't really think what he thought he did was wrong. I think he was more sorry that he got caught, and whether that's just bad. And I do think that he's growing up. I mean, like he grew up in Florida in the 50s and 60s. So I mean, like I do think he probably. That language was acceptable, and it's not
right. Well, and he's probably thinking is like, look, I was high. I just had sex with my friend's wife. Like, there's a lot going on. I didn't mean it, and you guys are just being babies. That's probably what he thought because he's just an old redneck from Florida.
He's a hillbilly, but you gotta understand that. And he had the thing is he had multiple opportunities over like a course of a decade to be like, hey man, I fucked up.
Yeah,
but he never did it. I mean, like. And like you could question like how sincere he was about the apology. You can always say that, but the fact that he never apologized is like I can't never say someone's wrong for feeling the way they do about him. But just I don't know. It's
I don't think someone's wrong if they like by the end of his life they don't feel bad about it. I do think it's weird to be like, oh fuck that guy. After he dies, like I think that's kind of weird. It's like okay, he's not Hitler, right? He said some mean words. I get it, and it's abhorrent, disgusting. He should have apologized, but like there are way worse people than Hulk Hogan. So I do think that's kind of weird. But again, I'm not like going at those people, but there were people attacking others for publicly like oh man, like it sucks. Hulk Hogan just died. Right, like it's like this one guy Joey Swole.
His career
he's the most positive, like genuinely good people on the internet, and people went after that guy because he did a Hulk Hogan tribute, and like he deleted his account after a while. It's like, oh my god, man,
the guy just didn't even know because he's not in the wrestling bubble. No. Like we get on people who aren't as knowledgeable as us and don't realize. Like I'm sure Joey Swole could get like. He's a big jack dude. I'm sure he liked Hulk Hogan as a kid. I'm sure he also wasn't necessarily a wrestling fan and realized how fucked up the guy was.
He and maybe he heard about it, but it didn't resonate with him, and he probably thought that Hulk had apologized. Like honestly, if you'd asked me and if I didn't know any better, I would have just assumed that a public apology had. And I think there was a written by a publicist one, but he had the opportunity. Like a lot of people don't know that he had the opportunity to do it in person. He just never did it, right? And so
that's what I'm saying. Like there's a lot.
It's his fault. I think he got some really bad advice from the people around him, Eric Bischoff. But should we get into Real American Freestyle? My first question about Real American Freestyle. Why not call it Real American Wrestling, like Raw? Like I just think that's a better acronym. Why wouldn't they do that?
Because you want my honest opinion, and I haven't asked Izzy this. No, here's the thing: the brains behind this is Israel Martinez. Him and I go back a good 20 plus years. Sometimes friends, sometimes rival. We've done business together. We've argued vociferously in public. I mean, like, we know each other, like personally, like, so like I have to be very calculated with what I say because I can't be full JD because I don't want to like fuck myself. You know what I'm saying? Like I just don't want to do that, especially somebody like it's tough. It's more difficult. And I respect Izzy. I really do. I don't think you call it Raw because it'd be Raw. Real American Freestyle is Raw. WWE owns the trademark to Raw.
Oh, okay. No, that actually just makes sense. But
second, I think I do like the name Real American Freestyle because freestyle wrestling is the okay, here comes JD. In the United States, we wrestle folk style. Like when you go to the NCAA tournament, you watch any high school wrestling, it's folk style wrestling, collegiate style wrestling. The rest of the world wrestles freestyle and Greco. Spring, I wrestled in Greco-Roman style, other style, and the state of Illinois, best freestyle coaches in the state of Illinois. So I think this was his kind of brainchild, is to bring in the best wrestlers in the world under freestyle, which is my favorite style to watch. Actually, freestyle is awesome wrestling to watch. So I think, but I also don't know how. I don't think Real American Freestyle is a great name for it personally, but I know they got that Real American branding because the guy money behind it is the guy who did the Real American beer and stuff like that, which is how Hulk Hogan, that whole thing. So they got that Real American branding. It's a little, everyone knows me in wrestling. It's a little too MAGA for my personal tastes, you know, but that's like, that's where they steer it. So
it's on JD. It's on Fox Nation. Like
I don't even know what Fox Nation is, to be honest with you. I didn't buy it.
It's the new app where I think a lot of the Fox News content and Fox News style content goes. Although there's another Fox app called Fox One, which I think is where the sports are going to go. I think that eventually Fox Nation is going to get merged into Fox One at some point. But
yeah, see, okay. So let's talk Real American Freestyle right now. Like, I did not buy it because I didn't want to buy a streaming service, especially a Fox News based streaming service. It just didn't appeal to me. Fortunately, they posted all the matches on Reddit, so I got to watch the show on Reddit today when I got to see. And I'll be honest, like they got some of the best. Not everybody, but I mean, they got a lot of the best like U.S. freestyle wrestlers around. Like they have some really good wrestlers. Like Wyatt Henriksen was out there doing his thing. It was awesome to see that. Bo Nickel was back wrestling, which is, you know, what he's good at. So I mean, it was cool to see. The production value I thought was better than I was expecting, to be honest with you. I thought
they had a good crowd too. They had a good crowd. I know that people were coming at Bischoff for the early ticket sales, but they got the people in the building.
They get the people in the building. Yeah. That's what you got to do. Yep.
Yeah.
And the community is really supportive. The community is pretty supportive of this. I'll say that. This is not the first attempt to do a professional wrestling league. There's 2 or 3 of them going on right now. So it's interesting. I think the odds of it working are probably a long shot just because it's never worked before. But I'll be honest. I mean, from what I saw, I think this is the best foot forward. I just don't know. I just don't know. And this is the arguments like, oh, they should have gone folk style. That's what we do in America. And I'm like, no, I read someone say they should have converted to catch wrestling. I'm like, no, nobody knows what the hell catch wrestling is. Like, that's like, I want to be super excited about this. And I think I can be in the future. Just right now, I'm a little bearish, you know? I'm not. I just didn't want to buy. If it was a pay-per-view, I probably would have bought it. But I mean, like the fact that I'm being asked to do another subscription service, just I'm done. I'm not going to buy any more subscription services. There's too many. We have talked about the streaming wars since we launched Bracer Impact 4 years ago. Like this has been a cornerstone of it, and I think we're past the saturation point. We are Paramount spending money that they're never ever going to see back for UFC. Like it's become ridiculous. And I'm glad that wrestling can have something. I just don't know where it goes from here. I'm hopeful, but I'm cautious at the same time. I just like that we're talking about freestyle wrestling, quite frankly.
Yeah. No, so here's my thing. We take away MAGA to the side and our absolute disdain for Eric Bischoff to the side, right?
Yes.
I think it's a good thing they brought in Kurt Angle to replace Hulk Hogan as essentially like the face of it. That was a better person than Hulk to begin with, but it's real American beer, so that's why you had to have Hulk involved. Him being an ambassador for the company, I think is smart. Chael Sonnen on commentary, I think is genius because he's fantastic at it.
Kurt was great. Kurt was on commentary too and was great. Like Kurt was great. Yeah, they were great on commentary.
Okay. I heard that they did really good video package introducing all the wrestlers, and the production was great, and everybody played their roles great. And they brought in Holly Holm as a surprise opponent, which is kind of cool, I think. But I think the wrestler had like a day's notice, but
she did. Like, well, her opponent had been booked. Holly, Izzy and Holly are tied to the hip. So when I saw her wrestling, I just assumed that I had forgotten that they had announced her. I didn't realize. Like I said, I think Holly's from I think. Izzy bounces back and forth between New York, Chicago and Albuquerque so much. And Holly's always around here with his stuff. So the fact that she was involved did not surprise me, but I forget that most people took that as a surprise. I don't think she has a wrestling background aside from this. So I thought she did all right, quite frankly.
Yeah, she lost, but she's obviously more of a
wrestler.
boxer, but she trained wrestling for years before she actually got into MMA because she was training she trained for years on how to defeat Ronda Rousey. That was her whole goal of getting into
Mhm.
MMA. She's like, I want to come in there, I want to defeat Ronda Rousey, and fucking did she ever? So
Mhm.
when I saw that clip, I thought that was cool. But here's where it goes off the rails. I don't know when this happened, but at some point, Tito Ortiz confronts Chael Sonnen.
I did not
And
see this.
he comes out of the crowd a little inebriated, but Tito typically can't form a sentence anyway. And he's trying to cut a promo on Chael, and he just keeps rambling. And he talks about, you beat me on my birthday, which did happen. Chael Sonnen did pin him in whenever they're in JUCO. On Tito never got past JUCO, I don't think. You're probably more
No,
of an
Tito.
expert.
No, it was Division One. Chael
He
wrestled
wasn't?
for Oregon. Yeah, Tito wrestled for
Okay.
Bakersfield.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Mhm.
So I didn't know Bakersfield was Division One. I grew up
Yeah.
like 40 minutes from there. I did not know that. So
My buddy coached there.
Chael beat him, and then years later in Bellator, when Chael is shot and Tito is basically shot, Chael gets choked out in that match. Tito beats him, so now they're going to do a third match. But the promo that Tito cut was one of the worst promos. Rambling. Chael's like, "Hey man, can we get this thing moving?" And then Chael cuts a really good promo on him because Chael's a good promo.
Chael's a good promo.
And that looks like they're going to set it up pro wrestling style, but it should be a shoot match coming up soon.
Yeah, and this is where the blowback that I have heard from people from my community is that they don't want this aspect of it. It's because a lot of like I am a weirdo that I came to amateur wrestling from being a fan. Wrestling is a family sport where if you get into wrestling because your dad wrestled and it's just da-da-da-da, it goes like that.
Right.
So I like pro wrestling. I've always liked, I'm here, right? Like, but a lot of my friends are like, they're super turned off by the idea of, by the pro wrestlingness of it. I don't hate it. I think that they're aping UFC. I think if they ape UFC more, they'll be fine. But this is where I've always kind of like the involvement of Bischoff and Hogan. I mean, it's always so I don't love that. I didn't see it. I just saw some match. I saw was match. The matches were
yeah, it's worth your 5 minutes because of how cringe it is. Like,
is it worth my 5 minutes?
I think it's something you need to experience. I'm pretty sure. Here's the thing: is they've tried these wrestling leagues before and they kind of flame out pretty quickly. I think maybe they should lean into stuff like this, but make it legit, obviously. But UFC became popular partially through great marketing, but partially because of guys like Chael Sonnen and doing the promos, and of course Conor McGregor doing promos, and Tito Ortiz actually in the early days he brought pro wrestling showmanship to the UFC when Dana White first took over, and that was a big part of it. But it never felt fake. I think what this actually kind of felt fake. I felt like they were friends.
I agree with you. I think that's the issue with this is because there's so much pro wrestling involved in it, it makes it feel not authentic. And like what works best in fighting and combat sports is that verisimilitude, that authenticity. And like when I watched the matches, that was great. And I actually thought I didn't like that they introduced the wrestlers to the music and then they played their promo packages after they were on the mat. I think they could have done it. I think they should have showed them before they were introduced, personally, from a production aspect. I think they should have done that before they came out rather than having them, WWE style sitting there for a minute while they're showing the promo package. But whatever, that's neither here nor there. I just think that I think that it felt some manufacture, like Real Woods and Darian Caldwell had a little blow up at the weigh-in. It felt, maybe it was real, but it didn't come off that way. It felt artificial. I don't want to be too critical of this, but yeah.
Right, it's hard to feel real when Eric Bischoff's standing right there.
That's what I'm saying, and that guy, and I will critique Eric Bischoff till Kingdom Come, but like I don't really care if anybody knows him. Like I don't trust anything that guy's involved with anything. So it all leaves me kind of.
I do wonder what exactly he does with the company, or is he just a figurehead guy and a guy that goes around on Ariel Helwani's show and does the podcast and stuff like that. I like in my head, that's all he's doing. Like I couldn't imagine he has any decision-making power there.
I have no idea. I haven't asked. I don't want to know. I'd rather be as far away from it as possible when it comes to stuff like that, because I think someone like Eric Bischoff is not good for amateur wrestling or freestyle wrestling. I don't. The guy has not done. The guy had a huge success that he squandered, and hasn't really done anything since, and has been largely milking that little bit of success for the last 30 years. And fuck it, I don't trust that guy, nor do I like him.
I had a good tweet exchange with Gail Kim yesterday and today, actually.
Oh, so that's what that was. I saw that in the chat. What did you do to offend Gail this time?
I didn't do anything to offend Gail. Okay. Me and Gail are friends. I've met her husband in person. Like, me and Gail are homies.
Me too, actually.
Yeah, he's a nice guy.
Super
nice. And I actually did a press pass with Gail Kim one time, and I asked a question, and they were all dumbfounded. I said, "When are fans coming back to the arena?" Because it was during COVID, and they're like, "We don't know." So, but I buttered her up by telling her how nice her husband was to me in Afghanistan. So I buttered her up, and then I hit her with a hard question that she didn't know the answer to. But so there's a I think like a no DQ article about, like, an aggregated article about Eric Bischoff saying that Dixie Carter was a better booker than Tony Khan, right? Like, he's very clearly bullshitting, right? And Gail then quote tweets it and says, she goes, "Dixie was never the booker." So I replied to, she goes, "I don't know why he's saying that, because Dixie at no point was ever the booker. It was always Jeff or Dutch, or, she started naming the different bookers of TNA." And I replied to her, I said, "Gail, Eric Bischoff's full of shit, and he's just looking for attention in his 70s. She goes, you have a right to your opinion. You might be correct about that, but what makes you say that?" And I said, "Clowning Tony Khan is good for engagement." She goes, "Oh, that's why you think he's doing it?" I go, "Yes, Gail." And so I think Gail is now smartened up to the Eric Bischoff stuff. Hopefully I don't think she's like living online, but she's been more online lately. So I think she's starting to get hip to some of this stuff, and she's like learning from her Twitter followers. But me and her had a very nice interaction, and also had a very nice interaction about how horribly TNA has booked Joe Hendry in the last year. So we had a good talk on that. So,
is she still involved with TNA? I'm so out of
no, she got fired. Yeah. The new president, Carlos Silva, came in and kind of just like wiped out a lot of the management team, and he didn't really bring in his own people, but he elevated other people up. So he came in and he fired Gail immediately, fired the other guy, Ariel, that had been there for a little while. I think he fired a couple other people too, and then and fired my friend Romy. He fired her. She was like a part of the marketing team. Just fired a bunch of people, and then brought in his own crew. So. And then elevated Delirious to head booker.
Yeah. So like I was speaking to Joe Rich, they mentioned today, and I wanted to run this by you because I hadn't heard this. Yeah. Had you heard that WWE has a right of first refusal on any sale of TNA?
That's what Dave reported. I don't know how true it is, but I mean, it's from Dave. So Dave with TNA stuff can be hit or miss sometimes. But I talked to my buddy Axe, and he's the guy that writes for the MMA Draw. He was the first guy that had the WWE buying AAA news. Like, he had it like a week early, and he even sent it to Sean Ross Sapp, but it just never got reported until, like, you see WrestleMania, there they are, right? Like, he had it first, and he told me before that news came out that WWE was looking to buy AAA, and I was like, you're out of your mind. WWE's not trying to buy not AAA. I was like, you're out of your mind. WWE's not trying to buy TNA. That's what he was telling me. I was like, it makes no sense. They would just get themselves in trouble. They'd be opening themselves to an antitrust lawsuit and yada yada yada. All the reasons I still feel is ultimately the reason why they won't in the end. But yes, I think what it does is that clause in the contract prevents Tony Khan from buying it. I think. Maybe they're worried that Tony Khan would buy it, but Tony Khan has had the option to buy it a couple of times. And maybe they know that. And so they're like, we don't want Tony buying this thing and kind of ruining the deal that we got going on here. So that's the only thing I could think of, because if they did buy it, I think they ultimately fuck themselves.
Well, it's funny. WWE does, like, we think of them as being like this perfectly run machine, but they do make mistakes on occasion.
Yeah.
We heard there was a few weeks ago, we heard the strong rumor that Lorenzo Fertitta was buying TNA.
Yeah.
And that seems to have died down a little bit.
JD. Yeah. That rumor, when I heard that rumor, just fucking That's like up my pants go like right there. Like I was like, oh, I was like, I was like, JD, we need a fucking podcast again, right? Like we need like the first moment I wanted to come back was when Hulk died because I had a lot of thoughts about it, right? And I wanted to do this Hulk, like, yeah, he was this great, but he's also a piece of shit. Like I want to do this whole thing. But then when I find out that Lorenzo Fertitta might be buying it, and guess who the first person I think I could tell you this on the air. I don't think this is a secret, but it had been going around. I talked like Bix told me before the story broke. Like he had heard it too. And like I was like, are you serious? And then I talked to Axe. Axe is in like MMA circles, right? And he goes, no, the Fertittas are actively exploring purchasing TNA. I was like, no shit. But go ahead, continue. Sorry, I just got so excited when you.
This is again. I'm like, I can't believe this is happening, and Mike and I no longer have a podcast. Like that was my thought too. I'm like, this is the shit that we were meant to cover, and we're like, now, the fact I'm always amazed. It entertains me greatly that whenever anybody talks about TNA news or something like that, your name always gets brought up. Like that, like that entertains me immensely.
I love it.
Like because I love you,
like,
and I'm like, that's so great.
It's probably Mike knows more about this, or Mike's going to defend it even though it's indefensible. That's how it usually comes up.
That's almost always how it comes off, and it makes me laugh. The fact that you said it came from Bix was like, holy shit.
No, so that's when I first heard it, but the story came from Sean Ross Sapp.
Sean Ross Sapp, but you heard it from Bix. So that's what
me and him had a private conversation.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll mind me sharing that because he didn't report the thing. It was a rumor that had been out for like a week.
But that's the thing. That's like, but it seems to have. But we also talk about how it'd be a shell company, right?
Yeah,
you're essentially selling it to your buddies so you could actually run it in private, and like it would be like a 3-card money thing. So, but it seems to have. Now again, this could be early, but usually when those rumors pop, lightning strikes pretty quick afterwards, and that's been like a month since that like rumor dropped. So I'm wondering if maybe that's no longer the case or what, because it seems like TNA is a very different thing than it was a year ago.
Yeah, I think if somebody were to buy it right now, because let's just face it, and I know Joe and Rich don't think this is happening. I'm pretty fucking confident that TNA is about to sign a TV deal. I've never been confident that they were going to sign a TV deal before. I'm like above 75% confident that they're going to get a TV deal.
Because it's Anthem seems to want to unload it because it's no longer on the Fight Network in Canada. Like it doesn't seem like they want it. It doesn't seem like they want it anymore, quite frankly.
Well, I think they've been wanting like Leonard Asper and Anthem in general. They're fucking clowns compared to the Fertittas, right? We gotta be completely honest about that. So, if they did unload it and the Fertittas did take it over, it's a turnkey operation. They have the infrastructure in place. They have a TV deal on the horizon. Carlos Silva seems to be a pretty good president. Like as far as like making business moves and some of his ideas, has good leadership skills in the sense that, he sets goals for people and benchmarks and things like that. And he's good with the media. He's very media savvy and very transparent and open, which is not usual for guys in wrestling, but he comes from the sports world. Like he was Professional Fighters League, but he also came from like the tennis world and different television networks. He came from AOL Sports. So he's got like just a different background, right? So I think they got him. He could do some good things, get them the sponsorships they're needing. The problem is I'm like, the Fertittas on station casinos, they got fuck you money. Why would they want to get involved with wrestling people, even though they're probably friends with Nick Khan? And Nick Khan, from what I was being told, wanted to buy TNA, wants it under their umbrella, and they want to beef it up to take away from AEW. They want to. I told everybody that a year ago. Whenever this partnership started, is like they want to take away from AEW. That was my first thought. But if they did buy it, they're fucking themselves and open themselves up to an antitrust lawsuit. God bless Brandon Thurston. He did a whole tweet storm that same night, practically begging AEW to sue them. He was like trying to lay out the case. Please, Tony Khan, sue them. Maybe he needs the content too. It'd be great for our show if he did. I don't think Tony Khan. I don't think.
Let us not forget who Brandon Thurston's best friend is.
Oh, Mookie Ghana, right?
For tennis, Mookie Ghana. Like so, of course, like they're everyone's cards are not on the table, but I don't think Brandon is speaking through Tony or through Mookie at this point. I think Brandon was laying out, look, this is what's gonna happen.
Yeah,
because immediately I'm not gonna say Brandon immediately put it out, but there hasn't seemed to have been as much. Now, granted, it could be announced tomorrow, and this whole thing could be useless.
Yeah,
but I mean, like, it seems like that talk has kind of gone down a little bit. Like, because let's be honest, their plan to squash AEW with the NXT events is only NXT attendance is actually significantly lower.
Dude, since they tried. It's only hurt NXT, right?
Again. Yeah. It's like history repeating itself. Like every time they say we're gonna squash it with NXT, and then NXT takes a gigantic hit. Like that showed that NXT ran in Lowell, like they had nobody in the seat. Like it was like awful.
Here's how JD. Here's how bad they did in Lowell. Right, they did less than 2,000 people. For Bound for Glory is in Lowell in October. The tickets just went on sale. They already have 3,000 tickets sold.
That's what I'm saying. This is a show. NXT is the only wrestling program that's consistently on network television today.
Yeah.
Like, and granted, it's Lowell, Massachusetts, which, by the way, is also where Sonny Liston lost to Muhammad Young Cassius Clay with the bolo punch.
Yep.
One of my favorite boxing stories in history. Anyways, Robert Silva. So anyways, like but now they're actually going to try to do this with. They're actually going to compete now with WWE main shows. Right. And like Joe, I'm going to quote our buddy Joe Lanza speculated that this is going to be that all TKO has done is now force Tony to sell his pay-per-views earlier than expected. And I guess Zarian was saying that deal's going to come through. Like they're going to announce it pretty soon that AEW shows are going to be live on Max, which as a guy who's spending money is pretty happy to hear.
Right. But are they still going to be pay-per-views?
Don't know.
Because I think Max has got a pay-per-view component to it now, doesn't it?
It does. I'll tell you this, if it's cheaper than $50, I'm back. Because I'll be honest, I haven't bought the last two AEW pay-per-views. We were off. The Patreon money has stopped flowing. So like I just haven't had disposable income to watch a lot of wrestling. And I took a little bit of a break, but like I'll be honest with you, I miss being a WWE fan on the network days where the shows were just there. And I'll be real with you. People shit on George Barrios and Michelle Wilson, I believe his last name, with what their model is, but they were too far ahead of the game.
Yeah.
What WWE was doing 10 years ago, the W Network, is now what things are. It's like everybody has caught up to that, but they were too early, right?
Yeah. I think that's the model going forward. And I think, look, WWE shows are going to be on ESPN1. Now, if you have cable, you can get the shows with your cable subscription, unless you're like me and you have YouTube TV and you don't get it. Or else it's going to be $30. I think that if you can get an AEW pay-per-view on Max, and I pay $5 for Max, I got a bundle with Netflix and Max, right? On my phone bill. And if I can get an AEW pay-per-view on Max for $5, I think you then now you're doing to WWE what you're trying to get TNA to do to AEW, which is undercut the market, right? And reduce the cost of what the number one would be doing. So here is like the way I see it, and the way that I've been looking at the whole thing. If the Fertittas buy it, TNA will then become a well-funded, strong number 3 that could compete with AEW at some level. I don't think overtake. I don't think like destroy AEW. I don't think put them out of business. Nothing like that. But like it becomes a well-funded number 3 that could compete with AEW. But here's the one angle that I don't think anybody's looking at. And I said this at the end of the year in 2024 on Brace for Impact. Whenever I knew that they were shopping around the television show, I said that what TNA can do is they can go in and they could pitch themselves like, hey, look, we got this contract with WWE, and WWE stars will be all over our shows. We got WWE backing, and WWE has done a good job of promoting TNA on their shows. Mm-hmm. They promoted Bound for Glory at SummerSlam this year, and they promote all the TNA shows on NXT, and there's crossover between the two, right? So it's like, hey, we have that. We're gonna go live 52 weeks a year. What it would cost for you to get AEW is, this price, right, per hour. We're going to come in at a significantly lower cost, right? So we're going to charge you at like 1/10 of the price, but we could probably get you here. Collision gets you like what, 400,000 on a regular week. We could probably get 250 to 3 on your network, but at a fraction of the cost. And what that does is if they're coming in undercutting the market on AEW's next TV deal, like Warner Brothers Discovery is going to look at that and be like, hey, but look at these TNA guys. They're getting paid this. And, maybe we think that you should be getting paid this too, or lower, you know what I mean?
I hear what you're saying.
And that's where I think they're trying to go with it.
That's what they're trying to go with, but that doesn't happen. As we keep, for the last 4 years, we have talked about bubbles bursting. WWE essentially got canceled off Saturday Night's Main Event. NBC basically said, you're doing terrible ratings. We're not interested in this. That's what happened. Like the Netflix, we've talked about, the Netflix has actually stifled the growth of Raw. Like significantly less people are watching Monday Night Raw now than they were a year ago, right? Yeah. WWE is just going to make more money. But they managed to decrease shares on things and make more money. Same thing's going to happen with AEW. Nobody because debt's not real. Debt is not a real thing when it comes to these wealthy companies. It's not real money.
So I think that's the thought, right? I just don't think it's going to work.
I agree with you.
Yeah. But if they bring in Fertitta, I think it's ultimately going to be a good thing for pro wrestling, because now TNA will be well funded, and that means the floor on some of the salaries is probably going to raise up. And what they can do is I think that it would, because here's why. The number one, the company that takes TNA's talent the most, the biggest predator to TNA has been AEW. And they can be able to compete with AEW now for those salaries when they weren't able to compete before. They lost a lot of guys because they just couldn't afford to keep them. And Tony Khan was signing them right off the roster, getting called up there. And now they'll be able to do that. And some of these guys, these main roster guys that get fired every year, which happens probably multiple times a year, TNA is not bringing a lot of those guys in because they can't afford to pay their indie rate. Now they'll probably be able to afford to pay their rate, right? Like they can get Dolph Ziggler, they're getting Matt Cardona, but they never did bring in any of the tippy top guys. They either went to AEW where they didn't fit in, or they just didn't wrestle, right? And so now they'll be able to bring in some of those guys. But I do think they'll be able to pay people more to not go to AEW. And like they'll be able to pay a guy like Ace Austin not to leave. Instead, they don't pay him, and then he goes to AEW, right? I think they'd be able to do that. That's what I'm talking about. I don't mean it could stagnate the pay overall for everybody, but I think for TNA, pay would go up.
So here's where I'm at, though. I think that in the short term, you might have a point, but in the long term, the idea of what Nick Khan and them are trying to do is they're trying to take out competition so they can pay the wrestlers less money, like UFC does. UFC notoriously pays their talent chicken shit, right?
Well,
that's what
compared to what they bring in, for sure.
Compared to what they bring in. And that's why we've had multiple lawsuits upon that. Like you can't, like, why do you think guys want to go box? Because the boxers make significantly more compared to what they bring in, right? Yeah. Top level boxers as compared to top level UFC talent, right? What they're trying now with MMA, they've never had someone like a Tony Khan who can afford to pay people, right?
Yeah.
Like Bellator was what it was for a brief stint, right? So what they're trying to do is it's not worked. They've tried to squash AEW out specifically so they could stop paying people as much, right? And now you have TNA in. So if TNA does its job, which is to stifle AEW, it might raise the floor for a minute, maybe for some TNA guys.
It's going to raise the floor for TNA, right?
For TNA, sure, but then they become. Yeah. But like then the overall health of the business is going to go down. This is why you're fucking retarded. I'm sorry, I used the R word. I should have done it. Can you tell them how to practice? It's
dude, you're gonna get heat for that.
I'll get heat. I'll take it.
Yeah,
I'll take it. I said something stupid. You're fucking stupid if you want AEW out of business, because it's bad for professional wrestling. It's bad for the talent. Like, guys are making more money now. The guys in the like the fact that Drew McIntyre can go and say, well, Tony will pay me this, you got to pay me that. Like, that's good for wrestling. And in theory, it'd be good for for all wrestling if TNA could pay more. I just don't trust Nick Khan as far as I can throw him. And I don't see how having a shell corporation trying to undercut your competition specifically so you could pay your talent less money is good for wrestling. I don't think it's going to work, but that's the goal.
Right. I think it's going to create another place for people to be able to work and make money, more money. Great. Like, because right now TNA, what they do is they're only working a couple of dates a month. So a lot of the talent has to go and work indie dates to supplement the income. And that's why you see like Ziggler or Nick Nemeth, he misses a lot of TNA's dates because he has like his indie dates booked well in advance. Because all TNA does, I don't know how much they're paying the guy, but I assume they're paying him somewhere close to his indie rate, and they just compound that over the year. He's not on like a signed deal. I think what this does, if they do get on a TV network, if they do become more well funded, if they have 52 live shows a year, which that seems to be the plan, is to go live every week and then do 12 live pay-per-views. I think that that those talent are going to make more money, and then there's going to be more roster spots on TNA because of that. So I do think there is some benefit to it. But I think the benefit is all like under that TNA banner, right? I think like TNA just becomes stronger. Now, what they won't do is compete with WWE for talent. If WWE wants somebody, they're just gonna be like, all right, like hands off, right? So they're not gonna like nobody's gonna be like leaving WWE is like, hold on, Lorenzo said that I would make this much, and like that's not gonna happen.
And that's where I'm kind of like, where if because the ultimate goal of Nick Khan is to squash AEW. Right, is to take out real competition and say, oh, we have the competition over here. And then TNA, they essentially want TNA to exist as it always did. Right. Just another place where we can put guys when we're done with them, or we can find people coming up. Like that's what they want. They want a number two that they can do what they want. Like, is anyone from TNA? Be the WWE guy. This is a legit question I have to you because like I listen to Joe and Rich and they make it sound like it never happens. So I'm asking you, has an actual TNA wrestler gone over anyone on NXT?
So right now I don't know the exact record, but I'm pretty sure I'll get a DM tomorrow. But like TNA would be ahead when they're wrestling, but it's all like NXT like people, right? They have not beat any main roster stars.
Well, I know the deal is NXT and TNA.
Yeah. So they have not. And in fact, what's her name? Jersey Jan, she was the NXT and TNA champion. She just lost the title to Ash Elegance she lost it in a three-way where she didn't get pinned. So you do have that. But I do think, I know no one believes me when I say this, but I get the feeling that Mike Santana is eventually going to pin Trick Williams, and it'll be clean, and he'll get the title back. And the Trick Williams will go on a little sabbatical and head to the main roster. But Trick has been actually like pretty good for TNA. He's actually done a pretty good job. So he's not a great worker or anything like that, but the crowd fucking loves the guy. He's supposed to be a heel, and but they can't stop chanting his song because the song's so popular, the Whoop That Trick song. So but yeah, no, they have, but
how many TNA fans now are like the people that used to listen to our show and stuff like that? How many of them are like the old school guys who come from the Dixie era, and how many are just like people who are NXT? Well, I should say NXT fans, but like let's be honest, NXT fans are just like old white guys now.
I think there's a lot. I think some of those people probably came back because I think once TNA completed the floor, they bottomed out. They completely lost the floor. I think a lot of those people just went and watched other wrestling because TNA had become pretty much unwatchable for a little while. And but now that I think they went. I think they went to WWE and just like started watching NXT because NXT was bringing in Samoa Joe and Eric Young and Bobby Roode, and they had James Storm for a little bit. So they were bringing over all the TNA guys.
That's a decade ago. That's like a decade ago we're talking about.
Yeah, that's 2014 is whenever they lost Spike, and that's when people just started, abandoning ship. There's a few of the hardcores left, but I think when TNA did legit, I'm gonna give them 7,000 for Slamversary. I don't think they did 7,600, but I'm gonna give them a legit 7,000. Great crowd. Yeah, I think probably 75% of that crowd was like WWE fans. Like, oh, TNA's in town. Let's just go check out the show, right? Let's go. Hardy Boys are there. Oh fuck, well, let's go. Joe Hendry's there. Let's go. Trick Williams. Yeah, we'll go check it out. And then I think like the other 25% was just like your hardcore TNA fans, and then just Puerto Ricans that really wanted to see Mike Santana. And of course they shit the bed. They shit the bed. Here's one thing that I want to just. There was a narrative out there whenever Trick Williams, in the worst goddamn main event I've ever seen in my life, between Trick and Mike Santana and Joe Hendry, the main event of Slamversary.
Was it that bad?
It was so bad. Like, it was so bad in the sense, like, they purposely wanted it to be bad because they thought they were getting heat on Trick. So they have the three-way match, and it's like Trick gets out of the match early. He does some stuff like the first maybe 5-7 minutes. He gets out of the match early and has like a knee injury, right? And then from there, it's just Mike Santana and Joe Hendry wrestling. But Mike Santana is going at such a pace, and Joe Hendry can't keep up.
Oh,
and
Mike Santana is good. Like, yeah.
He and Hendry is pretty much exposed. And in the match, he's like 3 of 3, right? As far as like talented wrestlers go, he's like number 3, right? And so they're trying to work a good match, but Santana is just not letting Hendry breathe. And it's like, I don't know if it was on purpose. Like he just wanted to prove that he was better than Joe. Like, and it's like, Mike, I could have told you before that match you were better than Joe. Like Joe's over, and he got him, and God bless him, got himself over because of his song and his smile and his charisma. It wasn't because of what he did in the ring, right? So they're working the match. Mike Santana hits the finish at like 12 minutes. And then Trick comes in, pushes him out of the way, and just gets the pin on Hendry, and then they just immediately go off the air.
Are you fucking with me?
And it's the biggest show they've ever done. And that's how they ended it. And here's what I want to address. A lot of people are putting the blame on WWE for that. And they're saying, oh, WWE must not have wanted Trick to lose, and they really buried Mike Santana, which they did not do, but they should have put him over. I agree. That is a very TNA thing to do. And so when you blame WWE for how shitty that show ended, you're absolving TNA. And I don't think it's right to absolve TNA when they screw up. That was a TNA decision. They did the same thing to Hendry last year. And that's what me and Gail Kim were talking about today. They did the same thing to Hendry last year. They should have put Hendry over last year at Slamversary. They chose not to do it. They put over Nemeth instead. And then they should have put him over Bound for Glory a couple months later. They chose not to do it. They put over Nemeth instead. And then they finally gave it to him at January. And the moment was big. The show was big. They had a big crowd. It worked. Hold on. Yes.
I see it too.
Total nonstop cucking. Yeah.
Cooking.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
And so, I don't want to absolve TNA from the booking because that's a very like TNA pattern to do that, is to not give you the moment when you want it. You have to wait for it and you have to chase for it. They did the same thing to Josh Alexander. He won the world title over Christian and then immediately lost the belt to Moose, who cashed in on him as soon as the match was over. We got a guest?
We got a guest. What's up?
Good.
Hey, you want to come say hi? Hey, you got to get in the camera, dork.
Yeah, Big Andy. What's up, dude? The biggest celebrity of the show.
All right, buddy. You actually got the other celebrity with him. Do I got Astro with me? Yeah,
Astro, what's up, dude?
Astro just chilling on the floor now.
Okay, but yeah, so that's how that whole thing went down. But I'm pretty sure eventually Mike Santana is going to win that title, and he's probably going to pin Trick.
I don't understand. Like it is a very, and it's so weird that like no matter who's booking TNA for decades, right? TNA is always like off target on when they do things. Like it's always never the right moment for anything, right? Yeah. It's just crazy to me.
Brad says Santana has to wait until he signs with NXT to get that TNA title. You know what? I don't think he's going to NXT. I know people think that he's going. I know WWE's impressed with him. I think Mike Santana really wants to be a top guy, and TNA gets a TV deal. I think that he is like number one with a bullet, and nobody's close to him. I think it's better for Santana to be the top guy in TNA for like another year or two and then go. I think that's the move because he's just now getting popular.
So if Mike Santana goes to NXT, he's going to be Ethan Page. And Ethan Page has carved him. I'm not picking on Ethan Page. Ethan Page has carved himself a great role. He is essentially what Samoa, not necessarily Samoa Joe, but like James Storm and Bobby Roode and all those guys were a decade ago. The guy who's going to work with the young guys and get them better. And I don't foresee Mike Santana thinking of himself that way, right? Like he left AEW because he didn't think Tony gave him a shot. And I'll be honest with all of the Tony fumbled stuff we hear, the only guy I think Tony really fumbled with was Mike Santana. Because that guy could have been more than he was. Like Ricky Starks got pushed in AEW. Like, all go over there, did what they did. Like Sean, if you're gonna tell me they didn't push Sean Spears enough, I'm gonna tell you you're crazy. Sean Spears is Sean Spears.
They pushed Sean Spears too much. They pushed Ricky Starks. They pushed Mariah May. They pushed all those stars. Mike Santana never got a shot because they just saw him as a tag team guy. And then when Mike left, the AEW fans, the beautiful fans, said, "Oh, hold that tag rope, Mike," and they were like demeaning him for having confidence in himself. And those people probably don't have any confidence in themselves, which is why you would say that to a guy who was taking a shot. And he took a shot at it. And I think he's upped his stock significantly. And I think TNA is, you said TNA needs to be what it's always been. one of the things that's always been is where a guy who's not really getting a shot at stardom, at being a main event guy, can go be a main event guy for a while. And then finally the people with the big bucks will see them as a main event guy.
Samoa
Fucking
Joe.
Drew McIntyre, right?
Drew
Like
McIntyre.
we always talk about, there's so many guys that have been like that have come through. Like look at Trinity, Naomi.
Yeah.
She was never really seen as anybody that could like be on big shows for WWE. And now look at her. I mean, she just gave up the title for having a baby, but like that, like she's been one of their more pushed acts since she's been back in the company.
100%. She was Sasha's friend, right?
Yeah.
She was Jay or Jimmy's wife. I forget who she's married to, but like she was never pushed as her own entity, like high. Like her comeback has been really good for WWE. Yeah. Like those two walking out of WWE worked great for both of them. Like,
yeah, it did.
They both gambled on themselves and they both won massively. Like,
yeah.
I agree with you. Like we've seen a lot of people do the TNA rehabilitation project over the years, and it's worked out pretty damn. Christian Cage is another example from the first person to try to make that work, right? Like I don't understand. And I'm an AEW fan. I don't understand the tribalism of the people who like get on people for leaving who don't feel like they're getting their justs. Like, and I think that's good for pro wrestling when you feel like they're not being pushed enough, right? Every guy should feel like, man, I deserve more. I'm going to go. Like, that's what makes wrestling cool. Like, that's what made the territory era so great. Like, if it's not working out for you in New York, man, go to Memphis. Man, hit up Alabama. Like, wrestling was better or more options. That's now is probably the most evil person in wrestling, because we don't want nation under TKO. Like, I want lots of options. I want CMLL to still be CMLL. Like, in fact, the AAA is becoming viable again. Great, good for them, phenomenal. Like, we need alternatives. We need more places for people to work, not less. And I'm happy because of guys like Mike Santana, right? When one company writes you off, you don't want the other company to be in league with them, so you don't get a chance there either, right? We need this. We need competition.
Well, I think WWE obviously has I don't want to say they have power over TNA, but they do have a lot of influence. And WWE just released a lady named Jakara Jackson, and TNA, she was for NXT, she was a tag champion, and she got released earlier this year. Again, like kind of a no name, right? She just comes into TNA and she's now called Amara Sade, like the singer Sade. And it looks like they might actually have somebody with her. So I think TNA being strong, you're going to get more people like that. And the only people that WWE will fire that won't get a shot in TNA are the people on like the bad boy list, right? Like if WWE fires them because of like heat reasons or they got in trouble, TNA probably won't take them. But I think anybody else they fire, I think WWE would like go. I think they would probably rather they go to TNA than AEW, to be honest with you. So I think that's that would be a positive. But
so look at this. Like, why hasn't TNA signed Matt Riddle? Right.
Well, they brought him in. No, they brought him in for one show last year, and they got so much fucking heat from the internet. Matt Riddle was thought to be untouchable. And he also was actively working for MLW at the time, but they did bring him in for one show. But yeah, no, I think that's a good example, right? Like they shouldn't bring in Matt Riddle because he's a bit of a scumbag, right?
Well,
so I think like those people that are in trouble with WWE probably won't get shots. But the people that are in good standing would all get a shot with TNA. Again, if TNA has money and is well funded. Right now, they only seem to be bringing in a lot of the NXT talents, like a lot of them, because NXT they weren't making a ton of money, so TNA can afford NXT money.
And I don't think I see WWE's perspective of wanting to have TNA there because you want a place where you can look at Drew McIntyre, for example. Like and this wasn't the plan. Drew got released because he had not lived up. Let us not forget he was in one. Then wound up in 3-man band and got fired and then remade himself, right? So and they were happy to have that happen because like sometimes you got to let a guy go to let him find himself. Even Cody Rhodes did that, right? Like you need to grow outside the system sometimes. So I see them as like, okay, we're going to put this guy, kind of push him toward TNA where maybe they can grow, right?
Yeah.
But they don't want to do that to AEW because if he does grow, then they look like they screwed up, and then you got Swerve Strickland all over again.
Right. And then now all of a sudden you're a competitor. Well, the term that I use is like they want to build TNA as like a strong. I don't think they think that TNA can become a number 2. I don't think any reasonable person thinks that. And
because they're going to try to out of business.
Yeah, I just don't think. I think it's been long enough. I don't think they got the juice to put AEW out of business, and I don't think
Bro,
TNA
they're running pay-per-views now. They're trying to take them out of business.
I think they're trying to hurt their business, but I don't think I just don't think they can put them out of business. But I think they're just trying to fuck with them at every point. But nothing that they've done has been able to work. And so,
no, I agree with that.
If their goal is to put AEW out of business, all they've done is make them stronger, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's incredibly stupid what they're doing now. WrestlePalooza with John Cena and Brock Lesnar going head to head with All Out. I'm curious about how that goes. Dave and Brian had an argument the other day, and I was on Brian's side for once. And what
was the argument?
The argument was Dave thinks that All Out's going to tank because of it. Like they're going to get under 100,000 viewers or 100,000 pay-per-view buys. Mike's opinion is there's probably 120,000 AEW fans that don't give a fuck about John Cena and Brock Lesnar, and they're going to buy the AEW pay-per-view anyway. I think wrestling fans ultimately have gone to their corners. Now, what WrestlePalooza does, what it does is it takes AEW off the headlines, right? All the wrestling media and all the mainstream media is going to be more focused on what's going on in WWE, and none of the media attention, instead of getting Sean Ross Sapp at your show for press, you might get like Jeremy Lambert or somebody, right? Like Sapp's priority is probably going to be, WWE. That's just an example, right? So I think that's what it does. But I don't think that this pay-per-view is going to tank at all. In fact, I think the people that always buy AEW are still just going to buy AEW because I don't think those people are WWE fans.
No, I agree with that. I think that's the effort in it. And I don't think, because let's be real, Tony Khan is not great at drumming up mainstream media attention. Like where AEW truly lacks from WWE is that PR arm. They don't have a Chris Legental. Like they don't have those type of people working in AEW that can milk the media. Right. And a lot of that too, just having been around for 50 years at this point, or 40 years, whatever it is at this. I do think you wonder, like Ape Lanza a bit here. I do wonder at what point their media partners are like, hey man, you're actually like, we would have more people watching this stuff if you guys would stop your stupid little wars.
Right.
Like, but I don't know. Like, one would think that because eventually it took the cable companies in the 80s to tell Crockett and McMahon to knock it the fuck off.
Yeah.
Right. You're hurting everybody here. I don't know.
Yeah.
We're in a weird place, right? Like, I really feel like in the pre and post pandemic eras were a lot like the early 80s, like where we had stuff that was like spreading out again, where wrestling was growing and all over the place, not just in WWE. And now it almost seems like we've reached the late 80s again. Right?
Yeah.
Like where AEW very much feels like, Crockett WCW, and like WWF is kind of what it is. And then like there's this hard 1 and 2, and everybody else is kind of getting absorbed at this point. And now they're really messing with each other media wise. Like it really feels like we're at that spot. And I don't know. I don't want it to follow the same path, because like what led to that is total destruction and monopoly. I don't want to see that again. That was really bad. That was a really bad era in pro wrestling. Like 2004 to like 2014 sucked. Right?
2004 to the moment that AEW came about, right? There was only
even when they started NXT, right? And that's what I think they really want with, and what I really think they want with TNA is I think they want TNA to be 2015 NXT, right? Yeah. You've got a bunch of really good people, but they aren't they're kind of doing their own thing and they're not a threat to you, right? I think that's the ultimate goal. Is a threat. When AEW came around, it became a threat. I mean, you could say they're not threatened by him, but if they weren't threatened by him, they wouldn't be doing what they do.
Right. And I think AEW is slightly threatened by him, because if they weren't, they wouldn't be signing up like a lot of the TNA talent. They're coming for that roster. The good ones, the good ones, right? Like they're not coming for Brian Myers. Like he's safe, right? But like Leon Slater, WWE better hope to God that they're able to get that guy under paper, because if not, he's AEW bound. Like, the guy is incredible, right?
He's really good. He is really good. They just signed Ace Austin and his gigantic quads. I don't remember. I haven't watched TNA in a long time. Ace Austin is freaking huge for a short man.
Quadzilla. Look, I love Ace Austin.
Me too.
I don't really see him ever kind of being a guy there. Like, I do, but I love the guy. But people were like making fun of him for saying this. Oh, he's never going to get on TV. I was like, well, guess what he can do now? He can buy a fucking house, right? Like, that's what he can do. I don't care if he ever gets a push.
Say this.
Tony Khan's not really into pushing the TNA guys too much, but
Man,
I think he probably afford to buy a house.
Mike, I have been the most anti-speedball Mike Bailey guy ever. That guy have a push than I ever would have expected. Like, he's in a tag team now with Kevin Knight, but he's on TV every week. The man had a pay-per-view match with Okada. Like, speedball.
But what did I say that they were going to do with speedball? Because I would hear for years about how TNA is mistreating speedball, and I was like, speedball's on every episode. He's on every pay-per-view, and all he does is have good matches, and he mostly loses those matches. But he wins the X Division title, and then he has the match of the night. That's exactly what he's doing with AEW. He's just doing it with, like, in high definition.
Good call. I agree with you. I think speedball is actually, and I don't love the man. I actually do like the tag team though. I think him and Kevin Knight are actually complement each other pretty well. I think that tag team actually was pretty good.
Jet Speed, not a good name. I was thinking Jet Balls would be better. Like, Jet Balls would be good, but Jet Speed, I'm not into.
No, but then compared to Josh Alexander, Josh has kind of struggled, even though he's in the top heel unit. Like, he just hasn't really found his.
He's just a guy that can have good matches, and I'm just like, but you know what? Look, I'm not mad at Josh for going. I think that he should have went. I think he done all that he could do, and WWE is never going to bring him in, especially with his bad neck. So I think it's a good thing that he can go over there. And look, again, he's another guy. Guess what he gets to do now? He's got kids, right? He might be able to put them into private school now, right? He might be able to pay his mortgage off. And he's going to go in there, and he's always going to be a reliable guy that has good matches. And somebody said in the chat that Josh Alexander might be getting a Kenny Omega match at All Out. I don't know that they do Omega Alexander. That probably sounds like a TV match to me. I don't know.
It sounds like now you do that's something you do in Toronto, right? When you get TV, I don't foresee them. Maybe I'm wrong, because Kenny gets kind of what he wants sometimes. Maybe Kenny wants to have a match with Josh on pay-per-view, because he'll do things like that. But I don't foresee that. There's other guys in that Don Callis family that I would rather see Kenny work with, but I guess it's possible. Like, and Josh, I don't know. I guess what hurts Josh is, like, he's just kind of Josh Alexander, right? And that's kind of what got him over in that era of TNA. He was, Bret Hartish, hard-nosed, did the work.
Yeah, Josh fucking rules, by the way. Like,
I do love Josh. I've always loved him. Josh Alexander. But he's not the most charismatic guy in the world.
Yeah. I did think that when he turned heel in TNA, I was like, oh man, they got something with him. But at that point, they were kind of shedding all the D'Amore guys, and I think they knew that he had an AEW offer and they weren't going to be able to match it, so they just beat him like a drum for 6 months. But hey guys, we have gone like way over. Thankfully I got the day off tomorrow, so I don't have to go into work, so that's good news. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Thanks for everybody for watching and listening. Please hit the like, comment, and subscribe. And these shows are going to be going directly to patreon.com/the Mike and JD show. They'll be ad free, and they'll also be available on the Voices of Wrestling Network. So please check us out on the Voices of Wrestling Network.
Knock it off. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll be back on Thursday night or Friday morning with a Brace for Impact, and that'll be exclusive to the Patreon. It'll be clipped. And then next week, if you guys want to join us live, become a Patreon subscriber. Go to patreon.com/the Mike and JD show. We took off 4 months and we gutted our Patreon, so we need to build that thing back up. So please, that's how we're going to be able to eventually afford a StreamYard. You guys, don't go away. I got something for everybody. I want to leave everybody with this. And I said this in a group chat that I was in, and I'm fucking serious. If WWE buys TNA, or if TNA becomes a WWE production, meaning like you got Bruce Pritchard in town and it's a complete WWE production, I'm fucking done. That no bones about it. Mike out. I didn't like WWE ECW. I don't like AEW Ring of Honor, although the occasional match is pretty good. I don't like stuff like that. I want TNA just to be TNA, shitty booking and all, and I want it to look like TNA. I want it to sound like TNA. I want it to just be TNA. And you're like, Mike, they got a bunch of WWE guys in TNA. That's what TNA's always been, right? Just like I just want it to be TNA. So if WWE buys it, Brace for Impact is dead. Stay tuned for fucking Brace for MLW or Brace for the NWA or something else, right? But it's not gonna be Brace for Impact anymore. Like that show is dying. I want
Brace for Noah.
That out. What's that?
Brace for no. Never mind. It's not even good.
Oh shit! Thanks, guys. No Jericho talk. Transfer Heat did request Jericho talk. Jericho's going back to the Fed, right? Like he's Fed bound. He has to be.
Break the this year.
I think we lost JD. I think JD's like podunk, like country bumpkin internet just went out on us again. Are you back?
Can you hear me, Mike? What the fuck? I thought we made it through them. No, you're gonna hear Break the Wall down at the Royal Rumble this year.
Yeah. And you know what? I think that's best for everybody involved. I think he needed to go. He had grown stale in AEW. I think he needs to go back to WWE. He'll be hailed as a hero there. I don't buy into like people will then look down on AEW for not keeping him. I think they would be smart to let him go. To be honest with you, I think it's better for everybody. Yeah, all right, King of the North dropped a super chat.
Hey.
Great welcome back, guys. All the best. Thank you for being a supporter. All right, guys, hit me back up on Patreon on Thursday for Brace for Impact. And that's going to do it for us this week. And until next time, mahalo.
Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you watch your A game. Amen, no rain from the track when we unite and spit. This is an A game, better bring your A game. Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you watch your